I've been working in the media industry for a good few years, probably about 5 years, and just before GreenPop started, I was working on quite a big job for Volkswagen. It was really exciting. Essentially, we were given the opportunity to fly around the world. We went to 12 countries, 4 continents in about 3.5 months, and we were shooting it was kind of a documentary on under-13 football development. We landed up flying 360,000 kilometers, which I'm sure you agree is a long way to fly. And I was between a team of 4 of us. So coming back to South Africa, we realized we needed to do something about it, and it just seemed a little bit too disconnected, just swiping the credit card. I'd actually done quite a few different kind of action-based, socially or environmentally orientated things in my time, and I'm a bit of a sucker when it comes to challenges. And yeah, so we decided we wanted to plant 1,000 trees to offset our flights. I did some research, and it was going to work out to be about 660 plus trees in total that we needed to plant, but we thought it would be advisable to round it up to 1,000. And so I went about gathering individuals together that I thought were like-minded, that were interested in doing something environmentally orientated, and just coming up with a campaign. It was only supposed to be 1 month, and in that month, it was September 2010, we were going to plant 1,000 trees. And yeah, we had about 10 or 12 of us, and they all had a specific skill set. One was developing us a website. One was developing us the whole brand for that month, connecting with beneficiaries, fundraising, etc., etc. And I was kind of lining these individuals, these amazing individuals up, and making it work. And after the month of September, we'd actually raised 1,800 trees when our ambition was to only raise 1,000. So we had another 800 trees we had to plant. That was the one thing that kind of indicated to us that we needed to continue planting. The second thing that happened was that we had a lot of beneficiaries that we planted with. They were contacting schools down the roads and various other beneficiaries, and they were communicating with us saying, hey, look, they got trees, can we get trees? So we saw that there was definitely a need basis, and people wanted trees and they were willing to look after them, which was for us quite an exciting prospect. And the last thing is, the 1,000th tree we planted was with Woolworths. And so from that perspective, we understood that there was potentially a business model here. You know, there was companies wanted to do something socially aligned and green, and also activate their staff. You know, get their staff to actually come out and volunteer and show their staff that they care through action, not necessarily just signing checks, but actually having them tangibly involved. In that month, we'd planted with DHL, and we planted with Woolworths and a couple of other smaller companies. And the last thing that for us was the tipping point was we got contacted by a company called Boss, and they were interested in planting trees with us from a long-term perspective and mirroring their sales of their stock to how many trees that they would be planting. And for us, that was an indication of a business sustainability model. We knew that we could map out how many trees were coming in and thereby understand our growth trajectory. So yeah, we started putting things in place. We developed a business model after the business had been created. We registered ourselves, and within 6 months we were up and running and operating like a business without any finance, and it was really excited. We're looking at the way that we've positioned ourselves as more of a social enterprise than a company. So we're a company with an embedded social core. And yeah, it's been quite an exciting journey for us. We've had a huge amount of support from the corporate community, from volunteers. We've had a good few thousand volunteers that have signed up to volunteer with us on an ongoing basis, or just incidentally once off, which is equally as valuable. We get a lot of support from the Cape Town community and the South African community at large with regards to actually gifting trees. So people are gifting trees for birthdays, for bar mitzvahs, for weddings, you name it. GreenPop has various brand objectives where we either take companies planting So for instance, in a couple of weeks' time, I'm going to be taking DHL planting for the day. In that, we'll do a sustainability talk where we'll go through various aspects of living a more sustainable life within the office and within one's home. I think this is valuable for the people within the company to kind of understand the broader strokes of it. We all hear reduce, reuse, recycle, but what is the nitty-gritty behind that? How do you understand why reduction is so important? And we'll try and link these kind of core messages to stories that are relevant to the home. For instance, if you leave your boardroom lights on overnight, the amount of energy that takes up on average is equivalent to boiling 1,000 cups of tea. And you say it like that, all of a sudden the light bulb really does switch on and say, hang on, this is something that we do need to understand. For instance, the Cape Parrot. At the moment, there's a less than 1,000 Cape Parrots left in the wild. For me, that's quite a frightening prospect. And the primary reason for that is habitat destruction. So when you're looking at buying furniture, do you know where that wood comes from? Do you know that yellowwood furniture, hard yellowwood furniture, predominantly comes from the Eastern Cape or that region, and that was originally the habitat of the Cape Parrot, and the primary reason why there's so few left of them. So it's kind of getting the companies or the staff within the companies to understand the broader aspects of that kind of sustainability. We then do a planting day, which comes with a demonstration, connecting the kids with the staff, which is quite an exciting thing for them to be able to do. We split people into teams and we plant a lot of trees.
Where do you get the land from?
We connect mostly with schools, orphanages, we've planted in various hospitals and clinics, and we also do small-scale reforestation projects. We have 2 projects at the moment that we're doing in line with this. A couple of weekends ago we did the Reforest Fest, which was quite exciting. We essentially had about 250 volunteers that came out to the Platbos Forest, which is it's just outside of Cape Town. It's a beautiful space, but it's been desiccated over the last few hundred years because of potato farming. And they left the land fallow, and now all the alien vegetation has kind of moved in. And it becomes a huge fire hazard. So that alien vegetation has been cleared away, and yeah, we've been planting our trees for the last 2 years there now. And the idea really is to make it sexy, to make it popular, so people want to actually go and plant trees, and we put a fun spin on it. The other project that we're working on is in Zambia. We're leaving here in 2 weeks to go to Zambia. It's a project we've been working on for about 2 years now. Over a course of 21 days, we're going to be planting about 5,000 trees, and it's going to be the start to an ongoing reforestation and eco-education project. Zambia specifically has one of the highest deforestation rates globally. The drivers behind that are tenfold, but predominantly it's because of charcoal production and slash and burn approach to kind of the conventional farming practice. There's not much conservation when it comes to farming, so we're going to look at various different means and ways to activate farmers to understand the process better, and then also engaging with local community, local authority figures, chiefs, NGOs, and positioning it like a climate action conference. So really just bringing the concept of reforestation and replacing of trees to the fore and getting people excited about it.
Okay. So to date, how many trees have you planted to date?
I looked at my website. I looked at the GreenPop website. I think it was yesterday, and I'm not too involved with the update of the back end, but I saw it was just over 12,000 trees. I think if you look at it relative to how many we could be planting, it's not a huge amount, but our ambition is not necessarily to plant as many trees as possible. It's more to plant them as well as possible. So we have quite a stringent monitoring program where we go and check on our trees. I think we have a monitoring team going out today. At the moment we're sitting at about a 90% success rate with our trees, and that's purely because we're very specific about how the trees get planted. We have a phone monitoring mechanism where after the fact there's various bits and pieces that we put into place to try and activate the community that we're planting the trees with. Like a grey water program, like mapping out the trees, like aligning the trees with specific classes that become responsible for the trees, giving the trees names and fun other things like that. And then also appointing tree custodians, or an individual that becomes responsible for those trees. We've also partnered with SANBI, the South African National Biodiversity Institute, and they facilitate an education day at Kirstenbosch, which for us it's a great partnership. It allows for us to provide a service for our beneficiaries so that they can understand a little bit more about why they're planting trees, why is it so important to be sustaining one's environment. Yeah, it's quite an exciting prospect. And then after the fact we have a team that actually go out. They do normally about 3 per beneficiary, and then we also look at coming back and planting more trees. So if the trees are doing exceptionally well, we'll reconnect and look at where we can do more greening.
Yeah. Cool. What are your challenges? What are your biggest challenges?
At the moment, I would say that one of our biggest challenges is growing too quickly or growing too slowly. It's that middle finance stage that we're in at the moment. So essentially, we're kind of gearing up for growth. But if we grow too quickly, then it becomes quite financially straining on us. Yeah, it's been almost 2 years worth of kind of little by little growing here and there, developing a nursery space, developing the systems behind the entire project, from Excel spreadsheets to understanding a plant day in depth, to creating dummies guides to X, Y, and Z so that one of us can step away. Yeah, so I think that's predominantly our main kind of point of restriction, okay. Which is not a huge thing. We've managed to build the entire project without any specific finance, and just doing it slowly, organically, and trying to work on a best practice the best we know how.
Okay. You got any requests out there? I mean, if you could address corporates and maybe even private individuals out there, is there anything that you'd like to ask for or state?
I think given the corporate space and the way that companies operate, I feel that it's really important for all companies to be planting trees. It's extremely relevant to the environment we are, from a climate perspective, from a consumption perspective. You look at how much paper your company goes through, how many staff drive to work, how much packaging you go through in the canteen, etc., etc. And also from a disconnect perspective. I think South Africa has such a huge divide between the leafy suburbs and then the very much under-resourced non-suburbia, underprivileged areas, or township areas. So yeah, I just encourage you to come out and plant some trees with us. It's a great day out. It's an exciting way to activate your staff, show them you care, show South Africa you care. And I think tree planting it's extremely important. It shouldn't be part of CSI or social responsibility or environmental responsibility. It should be a given. And I think it's time that companies started planting trees, either in their own capacity or through a service provider like ourselves. Yeah.
Okay, great.
I'm Mr. Teasdale from GreenPop, and you've been watching me on Invent Africa.